Everyone, welcome to Chapter 4, Stories Quantitative Data Tell. In this chapter, we're going to be looking at comparing histograms and box plots to each other. We're going to be focusing on shape, center, and spread. When you compare two distributions, you want to talk about those three things. So for shape, I'm going to sketch in sort of our population, our distribution. So this one kind of looks like that. And second one, if we sketch it in, looks like so. So this one looks somewhat symmetric. I wouldn't say there's a huge tail. So that would call the first one roughly symmetric. So we're going to say roughly symmetric. The first distribution, the domestic distribution, is roughly symmetric versus the international distribution. You can see you've got this stretched out tail. We've got a few numbers on the far low end. So we would call this one skewed left. So roughly symmetric versus this one we would call skewed left. Get rid of our curve. And now we're going to be looking at center. So because this one was roughly symmetric, we want to be discussing the mean for this one. So for center, we're going to be talking about the mean. So when I look at that one, mean, most of my data is right in here. I would say my mean is probably close to, if that's 70, 74, 78, I would call my mean about 76, 78. This one, because it's a skew distribution, I would want to look at median. So where can I draw a line? If you think of all the shaded in the histogram, you think of that as the total area. Think about where you could draw a line so that 50% of the shading is on one side, 50% of the shading is on the other side. And I might put my line out here. So if all of the shaded region represents 100%, then this is about 50 and that's about 50. And we said here, so the median looks like it's about 76. So it looks like the median for both, well, the center for both is roughly around 76. So we could write center of both is approximately center of both is approximately 76. If we want to be a little bit more precise, we could say the mean of the domestic looks like it's about 76 and the median of international looks like it's about 76. All right. Let's get rid of that. And now let's focus on spread. It's difficult to figure out standard deviation from a picture. Here, if you talk about IQR, you want to put it in a 25th percentile and 25th percentile. But you can see clearly here, this one goes very little here at 54. Most of the data is between 62 and 88. And here again, most of the data is between 62 and 88. Center right here, center at 76. So it looks like the spreads are going to be fairly similar. So spreads are similar. I'd want to get the individual data, and this one I would calculate the standard deviation because it's symmetric. This one I would want to get IQR because it is skewed left. All right, let's compare these two. Okay, so again, let's draw our, for shape, let's draw our curve in. So if I draw my curve, it looks roughly symmetric. And for this one, it's a very strange looking one, but it looks symmetric. You think about drawing a line in the middle and you fold, it's a good match. Draw a line, oops, sorry about that line. Draw a line in the middle and fold, it's a pretty good match. So I would say that both of these are symmetric. Both are nothing, in the real world, you're usually not going to get exactly symmetric. So we say both are roughly symmetric. Let's get rid of those. All right. So now we're going to be looking at center. Again, if you look about, they're both roughly symmetric, so we're going to be talking about the mean. So sort of like the balance point. Looks like the mean is somewhere here around 0.5, about 0.5. So center, I would say mean, oh, let me change that. Mean of both near 0.5. All right, now for spread, we got a big difference here. Whereas here, most of your data is right here in the middle. We don't have much on the fringes. It's not very spread out. Most of your data is like from about 0.3 to about 0.7. Now this one, you have very little data in the middle and you've got a whole bunch on this end, tall bar, whole bunch on this end. So this one is far more spread out. It's not clustered. Most of your data is not clustered in the middle. It's spread out from end to end. So for this one, we would definitely say spread of histogram on the left is, I'm going to say significantly less than histogram on the right. And if you calculate it, because these are both symmetric data, you would probably want to use standard deviation. Standard deviation of this one is probably somewhere around, I'd call it 0.2, whereas here it's probably closer to 0.5, 0.6. All right. All right, so let's take a look at our two distributions here. Looking at shape. So for this one, remember this is the median, that's the middle. So for this one, 50% of your data is here and 50% of your data is here. So you can see the lower 50% is far more stretched out than the upper 50%. So we would call that skewed left. This set of data, the bottom 50% is here, the top 50% is here. Yeah, that's fairly balanced. We got about the same stretch to the left as the right. So for the shape, we would say group A A is skewed left, while B is, again, I'll use the word roughly, symmetric. Center, we'll erase here. We'll see center a little bit more clearly. And it's a box plot, so we're clearly going to be using the median. So clearly group B has a median, a center that's 40 compared to, let's call that 47. All right. So median of group A is about 47, and median of group B is about 40. And then spread, remember when you look at box plots, best thing to look at is IQR. So for group A, let's change this. For group A, we're going from about 30 to about 55. So for group A, group A, IQR is about, say, 30 to 55. That's about 25. And for group B, the IQR is, let's take a look at it. So this one goes from about, let's call that 32, let's call that 58. So 32 to 58 is 26. So their spread is very similar. We could mention range, but again, range can be affected by those one or two outliers. So we're going to just stick with IQR.